is so good to see all of you as always. I hope you're doing well. I want to begin by asking you, if you can at this time, grab a Bible or open up your Bible app. We are going to be today in the book of Daniel, chapter 6. That's where we're going to be at today. And what we're doing is we're just continuing in our study of the book of Daniel. Last week we ended on chapter 5, so this week we're picking up in chapter 6. And today we come to one of the most familiar stories found in the Bible. You say, what is it? What is one of the most familiar stories found in the Bible? Well, it's Daniel in the lion's den. And so that's what we're going to be looking at today. But before we get there, there's something I want us to talk about. There's something I want us to notice, especially in light of the fact that today is Independence Day here in the United States. It's the 4th of July. It's a weekend we set aside to celebrate and commemorate the founding and the birth of our country. But I want us to notice something before we get into the text today. Last week, if you were here, and if you weren't, you can go online and listen to it. In chapter 5, we saw the death of a nation, the Babylonian Empire, and we saw the birth of a nation, the founding of the Mede-Persian Empire, all right? So last week, a nation died, and also we just saw, and we'll be seeing this week and last week, a nation is being born, all right? So here is the deal that I want us to get our head around. If you study history at all, you will come to find that nations are born, nations live, and nations die, and they do it with great regularity. It's just a simple fact. Nations die, they live, and they're born. You can go back into ancient history. You got the Hittites, the Egyptians, the Assyrians, the Babylonians. They died last week. You have the Persians, the Medes, the Greeks, the Romans. They all come and they all go. You look at our continent, the Western Hemisphere. Well, you got the Mayans, you got the Incas, you got the Aztecs. They all came and they all went. You can look maybe in modern times, the greatness of England or France or maybe Italy or many, many others. Nations rise, nations fall, they come and they go. They always have and they always will. We've got to know that. But the Word of God says that the times of nations are bound by the sovereignty of God. You can get in many places, but Acts 17 specifically talks about that. And so what I want us to see here tonight as we get into it, that it doesn't matter what nation rises or what nation falls. It has no effect on God or God's plan or what God is doing with His people. Nations rise, nations fall. God is unfazed by it all. This may come as a surprise to you or many. God is not yoked to any nation. Nothing slows down His plan. We're going to see this in Daniel chapter 6. As we're seeing the birth of this nation, the Mede and the Persians. God's unfazed by it. But there's one additional thing I want us to see, and this is what we're going to talk about. Not only is God unfazed by whatever country is in power or whatever, we're also going to see that God's people are to conduct and handle their lives in certain ways no matter who is in power. That's what we're going to see. And even that, man, it don't matter. Man, we got some brothers and sisters in China this very moment. And they worshiping in house churches under great duress. Don't matter if you're a Christian in China. I got some dear friends in the Middle East worshiping under great stress. No matter if you're a Christian in the Middle East, in America, Africa, it doesn't matter. God's people are to handle their lives in a certain way. And that's what we're going to see today. All right, we're going to walk through this and we're going to see, I don't care if you're here in this city or if you're in Kinshasa tonight or this day or whatever, we're to handle ourselves in a certain way. And so let's walk through this. Let's see this, the rise of a nation that will fall eventually. Let's get into it. Daniel chapter 6, verse 1. First thing God's people must do is we must handle our affairs faithfully. I don't care who's in charge. I don't care what nation is the leading power. We, God's people, handle our affairs faithfully. Verse 1, check it out. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 satraps to be throughout the whole kingdom. Let's pause and let's kind of talk about this setup, okay? So like I said last week, Babylon, it died, right? Darius defeated it, and so he wastes no time at all with the birth of a new nation. He wants to organize the government, and he puts 120 different, the word they use here is satraps. That's a provincial governor. In the Persian Empire, it's a governor of a region, all right? And so once again, let me say this. You may ask this question. We'll talk about it briefly. Who's Darius? Who is this man Darius, okay? Darius, he comes in. He starts this, he's leading this new nation. He's organizing the government. Who is he? Well, I talked about it some last week. People like to debate exactly who Darius is. I believe that Darius is none other than Cyrus the Great. I actually have 8 reasons why I believe it's Cyrus the Great. And you may say, well, if we go through all 8, it'll take a long time. It will. That's why I just want to share with you 3, all right? I want you to have confidence. I believe this is Cyrus the Great, okay? Real quickly, the reason why. 1, with Darius as Cyrus is the word Darius. It's not a name. It's a title. Like Pharaoh, King, Caesar. It's a title. In fact, there's like 5 different Persian rulers that we have inscriptions of, all calling themselves Darius. Okay, it's a title. That's the first reason why I think it's Cyrus. Second, we were told, as you closed out chapter 5 last week, we're told that Darius was about 62 years old when he came to power in Babylon, and we also happen to know that Cyrus was roughly that same age too. But in addition, we'll talk about this briefly later. You get to verse 28. Verse 28 specifically says that Darius and Cyrus are the same person. I'll read verse 28 just real quickly. Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian. The natural reading is they're the same person. It's the same person. So we don't have to debate this. I don't know. People debate a lot of things. And there's a lot of things that I think are silly to debate. All right? Darius, Cyrus. It's Cyrus. It don't matter. What's a good thing to debate? Here's a good debate. Tacos, right? Hard shell, soft shell. What it does, right? That's a good debate. But this is not a good debate, okay? Okay, I hear you, man. It's Cyrus. That's who it is. It's Cyrus. Okay, so let's get to verse 2. We got Cyrus coming to power. He's setting up the new government. Verse 2. And over them 3 high officials. Okay, so Darius sets up the 120, and over them 3 high officials, of whom Daniel, look at this, was one, to whom these satraps should give account, so that the king might suffer no loss. Okay, so you got initially 120. Then those 120, it's kind of a pyramid-like scheme, report to 3. But of the 3, we're told that Daniel is the leading one. It says in the text, Daniel was one, or he's the one in charge of everybody. Basically, he's at the pinnacle of this new nation. All right, underneath Cyrus. Verse 3. Then this Daniel became distinguished. He's already distinguished. He just said that. But he's getting even more distinguished. It says, above all the other high officials and satraps, because an excellent spirit was in him. And the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. Well, that's impressive. That's impressive. That's impressive, Daniel. Like Daniel, this doesn't happen a whole lot. Like you have a lot of authority in an old kingdom or nation. That nation dies. A new nation rises, but the new nation also takes you along as well, and you continue to have the same authority there. That's pretty impressive. That doesn't really happen that often. Notice it says, and you can circle this in the text if you so desire, but it says, in him was what? It says an excellent spirit. That is really literally speaking about that he had a good attitude. Daniel had a good, right attitude. Now, of course, if you got a good attitude, it's going to pervade everything you do, right? You have a good attitude in everything you do. But he had a right attitude. Now we can all sit and say, okay, you got a good attitude. I get that. But there were some other good things about Daniel, right? He had experience, he had leadership, he had knowledge. The dude could interpret dreams, right? But it's interesting, the thing that the text says that distinguished Daniel from all the others was he had a good attitude. It was right, it was positive. And that's what distinguished him. And I think that could teach us a lot. I think that speaks in a lot to us. I think we can learn from that. I think we can. Maybe you've wondered. Maybe you're trying to get, I don't know, you're trying to get advancement or whatever, and you may want to know, I don't know, how can I rise? How can I get distinguished? Well, Daniel, it says he just had a right attitude. He had a right attitude. It was positive, it was right, and the king noticed, and it distinguished him, all right? He has that right attitude. But also notice this. This is curious as well. Daniel doesn't manipulate. Daniel doesn't self-promote. He doesn't get political and gossip and twist arms, right? What did he do? The only thing Daniel did, according to the text, according to Scripture, is he worshiped God, right? He did it faithfully, and he had a good attitude. And the king sees that. And so he gets promoted, right? I think if you study the life of Joseph or the life of Daniel, you'll see this. The fastest way for a Christian, I believe, to get promoted is to be faithful in what God has handed you to do, have a great attitude, and worship God, and then God will place you where he wants you. And that's what we see happening here, right? That's Daniel. That's Daniel, okay? So we get to verse 4. So he's getting this promotion. Verse 4, that's cool. Look, then the high officials, I guess that's the other two guys, and the satraps sought to find a ground for complaint against Daniel with regard to the kingdom. Why are they doing that? Because he's getting even more accolades, right? They come together, they say, dude, this dude just keeps rising. He just keeps getting promoted. And you know what we want to do? Let's get together. Let's get a little coalition of the discontent. Let's knock that boy back down, right? And it's crazy, really, if you think about it, it's crazy. Because what had Daniel done to them? Nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. These guys, for whatever reason, they just wanted to knock Daniel down. They simply did not like someone else getting promoted over them. And by the way, many of you might say, I've seen the same thing happen before. Maybe it's happened to you. I don't know. But you're loving God. You're faithfully serving him. Somebody over here or a group of somebodies over here, seldom will it be one. Really, that one will get a coalition and they'll get together and they'll say, let's knock him down. That's what's going on. Unprovoked, they want to knock him down. And so they say, let's get a plan together. Let's get in our corner. Let's get a plan together. They don't get a good plan. It's a lame plan, but it's a plan nonetheless. Oh, by the way, it's the same kind of plan that happens today. Maybe you've suffered the same thing. They get together. They say, here's what we're going to do. Let's find some dirt on this dude. All right? Happens all the time today. The rest of verse 4, check it out. But they could find no ground for complaint or any fault because he, that's Daniel, was faithful. And no error or fault was found in him. So they got a lame plan. Right? They're going to get some dirt on this guy. It's a problem because the text says nobody at no place at any time under any circumstance could find a fault with Daniel. And these guys are trying. And let's be honest, man. If you want to find some dirt on somebody, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. But you got these guys, high officials, trying to find dirt on Daniel, and they can't do it. Why? The text tells us because he was faithful. The man is faithful in all of his affairs, and because he is faithful in all of his affairs, they can't find anything on him. God's people are expected to be faithful to the things entrusted to them. He was not corrupt. He was not negligent. He handled his affairs faithfully, and it did not matter what country he was in. It did not matter who was king. It could have been Nebuchadnezzar. It's now Cyrus. It don't matter because he's still under the King of Kings. So the question is, do we handle our affairs faithfully? All right, so first thing we see, God's people are to handle their affairs faithfully, no matter what country, what time, what place you live in. And I could tell you a lot of stories. I could tell you a lot of stories about even this very day, some of our brothers and sisters and their great stress and persecution, very horrible governments doing them no favors, handling their affairs faithfully. So should we. Second thing we must do, we must handle our prayers faithfully. All right? Once again, don't matter where you be living. You saved by the living God. Christ has saved you. You handle your prayers faithfully. So these guys, this big group of guys, they're like, hey, listen, plan A, it's not working, dude. Plan B. So they get plan B. We're going to a different angle. Here's plan B, verse 5. Then these men said, we shall not find any ground for complaint against this Daniel unless we find it in connection with the law of his God. Boom. I love that. I loved it. When people cannot say anything against you except for the fact you love you some Jesus, you made it, man. I mean, that's goals. That's hashtag lifetime goals, right? Well, only thing I got against that dude, he loved Jesus. He loves Jesus. That's what I want. I want that. I think I shared this story. I don't know. One time, I had one guy, professing Christian, his complaint against me was this. He said, hey, you take the Bible too seriously. That was, I know, man. And I was like, really? That's your complaint? Well, thank you very much. I don't know. What do you say to that? Lock me up, man. But Daniel, the only complaint, these guys, that guy loves Jesus too much. Verse 6. Then these high officials and satraps come by agreement to the king, that's Cyrus, and said to him, O King Darius Cyrus, live forever. So that they have to say all this stuff before the king. Live, you're awesome, you're the bestie best, love you, live forever. Okay, verse 7. All the high officials of the kingdom, the prefects and the satraps, the counselor and the governors are agreed. Now, I got to pause. I find it hard to believe that 100% of all these people are even consulted. But either way, I think they're misrepresenting the bulk of the people. That the king should establish an ordinance and enforce an injunction that whoever makes a petition to any god or man for 30 days, except to you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. Okay, so basically they come together. They say, hey, king, we got a plan. Here's what we want to do, okay? For 30 days, we want to worship you as God. King, hey, Cyrus, check it. We want to make you a 30-day God. 30 days, we're going to worship, you're going to be God, all right? Verse 8. Now, O king, establish the injunction and sign the document. As it reads almost as if they already had that document written up, so that it cannot be changed. Here we go, a little caveat. According to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be revoked, therefore King Darius signed the document and injunction. Well, Darius, Cyrus, I don't know, he's flattered. I mean, he's just been told, the whole political body, everybody got together, and they said, hey, for 30 days we're going to make you God. For 30 days, we're all going to worship you. And the king's like, oh, gee whiz, fellas. That just sounds wonderful. It's too hard to resist. You guys are the best. It's almost, it's like a coffee mug that says world's greatest boss. We're going to give this to you. Of course, it's a little bit different. We're going to pray to you. We're going to pray to you. You're going to be God for 30 days, man. You're going to be God for 30 days. Cyrus is like, yeah, thank you very much. But the dude wasn't thinking. He wasn't thinking at all. Notice also it says, according to the law of the Medes and the Persians. So these guys drew up these documents, and they did it, we're told, specifically according to the law of the Medes and the Persians. Now, this is real law. This is real historic, ancient law. You can read it. You can look into it. It didn't have to be made that way. I mean, this injunction could have been made any number of ways, but they chose to make it in the order of the Medes and the Persians. That's what they want to do. And why did they do it? Why did they do that? Well, we were told because even the king, even Cyrus the Great, could not revoke any law that was made according to the law of the Medes and the Persians. It was put in place. They used this law. We won't get into it for many reasons, but it kept the king from making frivolous kind of laws. So that's why it did it. But these guys are smart. They like, let's do it in the Medes and the Persians. Let's have him sign it. They did it. It's over. Ain't nobody. It's done. Nobody can revoke this. All right. So the next question is this. Cool. How's Daniel going to respond? Once he knows the document was, drawn up, present it to the king. King, we want to, kind of worship you as a god for 30 days. The king's like, you guys are awesome. I'm going to sign it. Boom. Medes and Persians. That's it. That's the law. Cannot be revoked. What's Daniel going to do? Look, verse 10. When Daniel knew that the document had been signed, he went to his house where he had windows in the upper chamber open towards Jerusalem. He got down on his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God. Yeah, come on. I know. That's what I'm talking about. As he had done how previously. I love this guy. They make a law. The law goes against the law of God. What's Daniel do? What does he change? What does Daniel change? Nothing. He don't change. No, he don't even hide. The dude does nothing differently at all. Even though there must have been great pressure. Why? Why does Daniel not change anything? Because when the law of man violates the law of God, we don't worry about those laws. Right? The Apostle Peter says the same thing. We ought to obey God rather than man. Right? Yeah, you make that law. It contradicts the law of God. Daniel said, I'm sure he was respectful. He's like, whatever. I am a citizen of a higher kingdom. We're going to see that next week. And the higher kingdom is over or supersedes this earthly kingdom. So therefore, that law does not actually apply. Quick things I want you to notice real quick. Let's look at the way he prays. I would love to do a message just on the way he prays, but just 2 quick things. We're told that he got on his knees and he prayed 3 times a day. Why 3 times? Where did he get this from? Well, he gets it from Psalms 55. That's how Daniel prayed. Daniel said he prayed morning, noon, and night. So David said morning, noon, night. So Daniel is following David's pattern, morning, noon, and night. And then it says he does it towards Jerusalem. Why? There's multiple reasons. I'm going to boil it down. It's because Jerusalem was where his heart was. It's the city of God, and I believe it symbolized God to him. So Daniel keeps praying. He doesn't stop praying. And I have seen this, and I have noticed this. Here's the great thing about prayer. Praying and sinning, it won't live together, right? Either your prayer will consume your sin, or your sin going to choke your prayer, but the two will not live together. So Daniel keeps praying. He keeps praying 3 times a day, always towards Jerusalem. He changes nothing. Cool. Verse 11. Then these men came by agreement. It's interesting. These dudes are always doing stuff by agreement. They won't do it by themselves. They got to have their coalition together. They think they got their coalition together, they can do more evil. By the way, you may have noticed this. Even in my own life, I've noticed this. I am more apt to sin if I got a bunch of sinners around me, right? By agreement, we're going to do something sinful, right? I don't know. It's the way it works, man. It can. Once again, if I'm in the company of some deep, deep saints, what a blessing that is, because my feet seem to be more sturdy. Either way, these men came by agreement, verse 11, and found David making petitions and plea before his God. Well, of course they did. Of course they did. The dude prays 3 times a day. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. They knew where he would be praying. They knew what time he would be praying. And then he got caught. Once again, not a bad thing to be caught doing. Not a bad thing to be caught doing. But we see here, man, listen, God's people handle their prayers faithfully. Guys, once again, man, we get so hyper political. And it's fine. We don't pray for our nation. Pray for politics. Yes. Yes. But that has no impact on the way you handle your affairs as a Christian, or no effect on the way you handle your prayers. We do it faithfully. Finally, no, not finally, we got some more stuff. Sorry, I'm trying to get you out of here quickly. 3, we must handle our confidence faithfully. That's what we're going to see next. Here's what I mean by confidence, all right? It's our trust. We must continually be faithful in the place that we place our trust. Check it out. This is Daniel. He's been busted. Busted! Verse 12. These dudes, you can just picture them. Then they came near and said before the king concerning the injunction, O king, did you not sign an injunction, passive, aggressive, there you go, that anyone who makes petitions to any god or man within 30 days except for you, to you, O king, shall be cast until the lion den of lions? It's like they think this king's forgetful, but they don't. They're just, doing their little thing. The king answered and said, the thing stands fast according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be revoked. Yeah, guys, yeah, I know, I signed it. And look, these guys are jokers, man. You get the picture here. The picture here to me is this. It's morning time. They draw up their little document. They march into the king. King, we want to pray to you. Here's, we're going to honor you. It's going to be King Day for 30 days. You, God, sign it. Oh, that sounds great. Sign it. They file it. They run over to Daniel's house by noon. See Daniel. Oh, there's Daniel. Then they run back. Hey, king, did you not early in the morning sign this document? He's like, of course I signed that document. You put that document. I'm God for 30 days. Everybody loves me. You love me. Everybody loves me. Bunch of love going on, right? That's what's going on. I don't know, man. What do you got next? Is it verse 13? Is it verse 13? Then they answered and said before the king, Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, O king, or the injunction you have signed, but makes his petitions 3 times a day. Hey, king! Hey, king! There's one dude, he ain't doing it. It's interesting. It says, they said, their complaint is, he makes petitions to his God 3 times a day. How'd they know? They just went there one time. They didn't do no elaborate investigation. They know from the past. He's always done that, so they're certain he's going to keep doing that. They didn't have to investigate. They know. Verse 14. Then the king, when he heard these words, was much distressed and set his mind to deliver Daniel, and he labored till the sun went down to rescue him. King like, uh-oh, I didn't think. I didn't think that, I know Daniel. I love Daniel. I knew Daniel wouldn't be bowing no knee to me. I didn't think in my hastiness and my desire to have people worship me as God, right? I didn't think that perhaps some people that I have a lot of respect for might not do this. And who does he get angry? Who does the king get angry at? This is what I like about Cyrus, at least here. He's honest. He gets angry at himself, at his own ego. His own ego entrapped him. So what does he do? He sets his mind to deliver Daniel, right? He's like, I'm the king. I'm Cyrus. I'm going to try to help Daniel. Now, I don't know what he did. Maybe he's looking at some case law. I have no clue. But there's nothing he can do. You can't do anything, right? But what I want us all to see, pay attention to Daniel. Look at Daniel. Daniel never says a word. Daniel never protests. He never defends himself at all. What does he do? What is Daniel doing? He handles his confidence faithfully. Man, he's like, man, I don't have to defend myself. I don't have to go up there, march, blah, 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 king, blah, whatever. His confidence is in God. Verse 15. Then these men came by agreement, once again, my little coalition of evil, by agreement to the king and said to the king, King, O king, that is a law of the Medes and the Persians, that no injunction or ordinance that the king established can be charged. So these dudes, they're like, King, dude, quit trying to help out Daniel, man. It's a Medes Persian law. You know this, kingy king. It's done deal. Try all you want. You signed it. It's got to happen. So the king does the only thing he can do. Verse 16. Then the king commanded, and Daniel was brought and cast into the den of lions. The king declared to Daniel, I love this, this part of the king, may your God, whom you serve, look at this word, continually. And I could talk about that. I wonder if that same thing could be said about me. So the king might have said to me, Travis, may your God whom you serve occasionally deliver you. You know? What if it was the amount of times that you attend church or I attend church or whatever? May your God whom you serve serve twice a month save you. I don't know, but to Daniel continually, it was known that he continually serves the Lord. Now, here's the deal real quick. There's some debate. Some people, once again, people who want to spend their time debating silly things, they debate, are these real lions? Yeah, they real lions, man. They real lions. They've been starved to death. No, not to death. They've been starved so they would be quicker killers. Here's the deal. I'll let you guys know, because I think on this. I think, I could be wrong, but I think that I have been around more lions than the average person. Because I lived in Africa 9 years, and I saw a lot of lions. Now, I would be in the car, but I saw a lot of lions. One time, when we lived on the western side of the Serengeti, one morning I got up on the eastern side of the Serengeti. We drove through the Serengeti. One day I saw over 24 lions from my car. You know what I'm saying? From my car. One time, I was out with my wife way deep in the bush, and we're hiking, and we had a Maasai guard. The Maasai guide, he goes, hey, I know where some lions are. Do you want to see them? I said, on my feet? He goes, yes. I said, no, sir. No, I want to go the opposite direction. You know, I was like, this kind of humor is lost on them, but you're like, you know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see some Pop-Tarts. You got some Pop-Tarts? You got some coffee? Something like that. But I don't want to see no lions, man. They're awesome, incredible animals. They kill, man. It's amazing. But now you got Daniel being thrown into the den of them, and they're hungry, and it don't look good. Verse 17, and a stone was brought and laid on the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet and with the signet of his lords, that nothing might be changed concerning Daniel. I love this verse for so many reasons. We could get deep in it. But what I want you to notice is it's put here, one of the main reasons is to let us know that the law of the Medes and the Persians has been put into effect. You take his ring, he seals it, law's done. It's been fulfilled, it's over, it's sealed. Nothing, no one outside in this world, natural world, can help Daniel. Verse 18, then the king went to his palace and spent the night, curious guys, fasting. No diversions were brought to him, and sleep fled from him. The king, Cyrus, must have really admired Daniel, right? He goes back, and it's interesting, he's fasting, presumably to Daniel's God. That's the implication here. He's praying to Daniel's God, the God of the Bible, for Daniel's safety. Don't want no entertainment, want no food. He could not sleep. Verse 19, then at break of dawn, the king arose and went, I love this word, in haste to the den of lions, all right? So the sun comes up, and that word specifically here is as soon as there's a crack of light, he is up and he goes, and we're told, with haste. No, picture it. You got this man, mid-60s, As fast as he could, he's going down there to check on Daniel. Let me ask you this. Does this not appear like the king has some faith in the God of Daniel? It does to me. I mean, maybe not complete faith, but it indicates he's got some faith. Maybe the God of Daniel has delivered him. Maybe the God of Daniel is the God and King of kings. Maybe so. Let me get down there. Verse 20. As he came near to the den where Daniel was, he cried out in a tone of anguish. The king declared to Daniel, "O Daniel," there's so much here, guys, "servant of the living God." Pause. How in the world does this pagan king know that Daniel's God is referred to as the living God? How does he know that? He learned it from Daniel. Daniel been teaching him. Daniel been telling him. Why? Because you couldn't get Daniel to shut up. Like, yeah, I'm going to talk about God. He don't care. At work, what you doing, Daniel? I'm talking about God. On vacation, what you doing? I'm talking about God. When you shopping, what you talking about? God. When you eating Pop-Tarts, I'm talking about God. That's how he knows it. Has your God whom you serve continually been able to deliver you from the lions? Verse 21. Then Daniel said to the king, "O king, live forever." Verse 22, first part. My God sent his angel, one, and shut the lion's mouth, and they have not harmed me. Daniel says, God sent an angel. Now, real quick, angels are powerful. How powerful? I don't know, dude. 2 Kings 19 says one angel killed 185,000 Assyrians all by himself. So one angel, he's going to be able to hold back some lions, all right? Not a problem. But the interesting things come next. The rest of verse 22. Look at this. He says, because I was found blameless before him. He not being proud. He just stating the fact. He continues, and also before you. Hey, by the way, king, I got something to tell you. O king, I have done no harm. Right? Also, I've done no harm. So I've done no harm to you, king. Like king, let's get the record straight now. I done nothing wrong. Now, it's interesting. Prior to this, Daniel had not defended himself at all, right? Nothing. But now that he has stood before the living God and God has found him innocent, at that point, he says, King, I've done nothing wrong. I'm innocent. I'm innocent. Daniel, how you know you'd be innocent? Because God had the perfect opportunity to judge me, to harm me, to punish me, and he found me innocent. Verse 23. Then the king was exceedingly glad and commanded that Daniel be taken up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no harm was found on him because he had trusted in his God. That's it, guys. Let's see it. Why? Why? Not a mark on him. Why? Because he handled his confidence faithfully. Right? It don't matter who's king. It doesn't matter who's in charge. It doesn't matter what nation rises or falls. We handle our trust, our confidence faithfully. Final thing that we're to do, we must handle our praise faithfully. We'll wrap this up pretty quickly. And the king commanded, and those men who had maliciously accused Daniel was brought and cast into the den of lions. Hear this, guys. They, their children, and their wives. And before they reached the bottom of the den, the lions overpowered them and broke all their bones in pieces. Brutal. 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 Why are we told all this? Well, we could talk about several different things, but I want to tell you the primary reason why I believe we're taught this is because that rule, that edict, that document was made, what? In the law of the Medes and the Persians. The law of the Medes and the Persians says, on the account of one, all his kindred, his relatives, must also be put to death. Interesting, huh? Interesting. The very law they said we must live by, right? You got to live by this law, man. You can't change it. Daniel going to pray. You can't revoke it. They demanded that law. We want that law. They got that law. They got it. and all their family died. I think there's a biblical truth here. Live by the law, die by the law. Praise God we're under grace. Praise God we're under grace, right? Come on, man. And then real quickly, turn your attention. Darius Cyrus praises the living God. He sounds like a psalmist here, not like a pagan king, but let me just read this. Then King Darius wrote to all the people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth. Peace be multiplied to you. I make a decree that in all my royal dominion, people are to tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, enduring forever. His kingdom shall never be destroyed, and his dominion shall be to the end. He delivers and rescues. He works signs and wonders in heaven and on earth. He who has saved Daniel from the power of the lions. We see here that the king directs all of his praise to the living God. We too, God's people, must handle our praise faithfully. Last verse. So Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian. Once again, same name, Darius, Cyrus. All right. And that really ends the narrative historical part of the book of Daniel. Next week we begin part 2, the last 6 chapters, and it's going to be a lot of prophetic stuff. But I want us to see here in this chapter, just real quick, before we go off, and it doesn't matter. I just want us to see nations fall, nations rise. Always has been, always will be. But God's people are to handle themselves. I don't care if a donkey's president or an elephant's president. We handle ourselves in the same manner, right? We handle our affairs faithfully. We handle our prayers faithfully. We handle our confidence faithfully, and we handle our prayers faithfully. That's what God's people do.